Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Just Fed where I'm playing Final Fantasy XIV. I've been recording a lot. Last episode we did Nidhogg Extreme, also got ourselves the all of the birds from the, or like all the mounts, from the extremes, then proceeded to do that entire shtick, and then we ended off with a beautiful dinner with Sir Emmerich. And now our new story thread has arrived. But before we do that, it was bitterly cold when you first came to our city. When I stood waiting before you at the waiting for you before the Ark of the Worthy, to think that was where it all began. How much has changed since that day. Forgive me. Of late, I have been studying the works of a Balladian poet king who wrote, "To ye who ask of things to come, give thought to what is past and gone." So rarely have we the luxury to reflect on the choices we have made, on how they have shaped our lives and the lives of others. Even I, a mere steward whose deeds would not merit a footnote in the annals of history, can see the value in this. I say this to you, Mrs. Adair, because as you move, so too does the world. Pray spare a moment to contemplate your journey while you can. The road stretched on, obscured by an endless veil of snow, as somewhere in the white beyond stood the great iron gates, and on the other side a humble manservant who awaited the coming of 3 travelers. What are we doing? Anyway, I'm gonna accept this quest also, while I'm at it. This is not gonna be voice acted. So, the Warrior of Darkness and the Askins are conspiring to bring about Garuda's summoning. They might put her to the sword. Then, when we first encountered them in Lost at Nath, when they were confronting Ravana. Gods, has this been their aim all along? What do you mean to do, Master Alfredo? There's much and more I do not understand, but I know this. A primal summoning cannot be ignored. Adair risked her life to uncover this plot, and we squandered her gift at our peril, Lynn. I can't speak anymore. It's over. Video's over. Lynn, will you accompany me to Zelfethal and help to stop the Ixal's ritual? Yes. We shall. Given that Ishgard shares a border with the Ixali homeland, we have a vested interest in the outcome of this ritual. We have been willing to suffer the Beastman's intrusions into Kurthan lands to a point, but the summoning of a primal is an escalation we cannot abide. You shall have our fastest airship, Master Elfino. The mountains of Zelfthal are not easily traversed, and this endeavor demands all haste. Judgment is most appreciated, Sir Emmerich, but I fear an aerial approach is destined to fail. This is their homeland, after all, and Ixali dirigibles are not to be underestimated. No, experience tells me the only conceivable approach is by land. I believe it would be wiser to cross into Zelfethal by way of the mountain pass east of Camp Dragonhead. In that case, I shall send instructions for a contingent of the camp's knights to be placed at your disposal. They will secure your safe passage through the mountains and escort you thence to Zelfethal. My men are unqualified to confront a primal. They are more than capable of contending with the Ixal. We should be glad of their assistance, Lord Edmund. In the event Mrs. Adair regains consciousness, we will share with you any additional information she may provide. May the Fury watch over you and keep you safe. Yes. Now let us be off. We can procure any additional supplies we require in Camp Dragonhead. Alright. Now before we do that though, we do have to go and stop a primal summoning, but kind of wanna do this quest. I don't even know what even the point is of this. Warm welcome to you, Mrs. Lynn. To what do I owe the pleasure? Retracing your steps from those first days in Ishgard. I see. Well, no one could begrudge you for indulging in a little nostalgia. I'm reminded how much I owe to you and yours. Lest you forget, foreign merchants were subject to a frankly unreasonable level of scrutiny until relatively recently. Not so now, however. Now goods from every corner of Eorzea flow into our markets. And that, my friend, is change we can all appreciate. Merchants of all nations speak of a common tongue, and its words are coin. Needless to say, there is little profit to be had in prejudice, especially against those who have received the patronage of a count. Thus, when the wards of House Fortoms arrived, she was glad to make their acquaintance. Gabriel. What'll it be then? Ale, mulled wine? No, no, don't tell me. Tea? Oh, so it's to be memories then, is it? Now there's a bitter draught that'll leave you wanting, assuming you can remember your own name, that is. Take your friend Tataru. One moment she's just another girl waiting on customers, clearing tables and so forth, and the next she's got a dozen admirers asking for her every bloody night. And I'll be damned if I can remember how it happened. Singing those stupid songs, dancing those daft dances, though to be honest, I think it was their stories that really won him over. Stories of a certain hero's grand adventures across Eorzea. Told with a flair that'll put a minstrel to shame. Who doesn't love a good hero's tale, am I right? Else, we've even got one about the man who built this tavern. Was one of the founding fathers of Ishgard or so, I guess. Now, as the Enchiridion told it, besides Haldreth, the only knight who survived the battle with Nidhogg were the founders of the High Houses. Of course, these days we all know better than to put too much stock in the words of the church, eh? But there's more to our tale than just words. There's a sword, too. One which has been passed down from proprietor to proprietor, since before anyone can remember. She's a rusty old bugger, but if you look closely at her handle, you can just about make out an inscription. Brothers brave and true, live well, forgotten and content. Man who forsook wealth and fame and chose the life of a humble tavern keeper. It's just a tale, of course, albeit a good one. As for the truth, who can say, friend? Who can say? He knew everyone's story, though he would never share his own. An optimist. He wanted to believe in the best in people. Sometimes that faith would be rewarded, other times betrayed. But he would listen, regardless, and he would hope. Am I really just gonna go, like... Is this really gonna be a quest that's gonna make me go all the way around this place again? I mean, I like Heavensward, but, like... You know, it's time to move on. So if you thought we were doing MSQ in this episode, you fool! You don't know this channel. Mr. Sadair, I was at this moment thinking of you. I had hoped to speak with you at Sir Emmerich's investiture, but circumstances conspired to prevent me from attending. Mayhap you will allow me to say now what I could not say then? On behalf of House Halenhart and all of Ishgard, I offer unto you my deepest and most humble thanks. You risked your life to stand against our sworn enemy, and freed us from a millennium of torment. Though we can never hope to repay you, we will ever remember you and your deeds, that our children and their children's children might know the woman to whom they owe their lives. I can see that the grand investiture would have been a more fitting occasion for such words, but I could not risk them being left unspoken. What brings you this way? As you can see, the clamp? Yes, there's a clam in here somewhere. Camp Cloudtop remains much the same as it did during the war. Though we need no longer watch the skies for the Vanian outflyers, the Vanavani have proven themselves similarly worthy of our attention. I say, old girl, you have the most uncanny ability to appear whenever I least expect you. But enough about that. Au revoir. Yes, my lord. Lady Laniette, I am pleased to report that we succeeded in infiltrating Vundu territory, and there observed the beastmen harvesting crystals at several different sites. Based on the volume of crystals acquired during our period of surveillance, I have prepared an estimate of how much time I believe it will take the Vundu to gather sufficient crystals for another summoning. I have also taken the liberty of drafting several proposals outlining how the Rose Knights might prevent such an eventuality, such as raiding these sites and securing their stores, as well as a detailed assessment of the risks involved should you choose to proceed. What a fury! I doubted you were clever, but I was not aware that you were capable of this. With respect, you are wasted on you, master. Hardworking, full of potential. I think there's a place for you here with the Rose Knights, if you would have it. That you would even consider taking me into your service is tremendous honor, my lady. And were I free to do so, I should gladly accept, but I am pledged to another, as you well know. Regrettable, but understandable. I take comfort in the fact that a youth of your talent and character will never want for opportunities. Pledged to another, you rascal! Thought I saw you whispering in young Solette's ear the other day. You certainly wasted no time wooing our newest maid. There'll be no secrets between us. You must tell me everything. Where you've been sneaking off to together, what adventures you've been having. Every little detail. Oh, and don't you dare leave anything out. I'm sure he will not. In any event, you have jointly exceeded my expectations. I grant you leave to return to the city. Should the need arise, I shall call upon you again. Thank you, my lady. I believe we shall do as you suggest. Until we meet again, Mrs. Adair. Not so fast. The next airship isn't due for another hour, and we have so much to talk about. On our what? On our what? For all the ladies' disdain, it was an old familiar dance. To her, Lord Manalaine would always be the boy fumbling for a compliment. And perhaps there was comfort in that, a memory of home on the bleak frontier. It really is gonna be just, we're gonna just talk to literally everyone. Okay, game. Let's see how it is. A thousand pardons, Mrs. Adair. Had I known you were planning to pay a visit, I would have seen that you received a proper reception, a feast perhaps, or at least a formal welcome with a man in full dress. Or the men in full dress. You have more than earned it. One need only look to the pilgrims who come in their droves to pray before the relief to see the truth of that. Some abide in silence, while others shed tears, not for sorrow, we understand, but for joy. Joy at being released from Nidhogg's torment. Sir Redwald, the shipment has been unloaded and the quartermaster confirms that all supplies are accounted for. Mrs. Adair, are you here on official business? A journey to remember and reflect. Aye, much has changed since we first came here together, since I abandoned you to follow the heretic's trail alone. Come, my lord, maybe you recall a survivor whom you carried back to Falcon's Nest that day. Well, his wife would recently give birth to their first child. Is that so? Well, mayhap I should pay him a visit. Though he would doubtless be honored, my lord, you need not put yourself to such trouble. Your responsibilities as Count surely leave little enough time as it is. Think not on that. I'm still me, and you are still you. Whatever our respective titles, I would speak to you as a friend. This preoccupation, with position and power has sown no end of discord between our two houses, to the great detriment of our nation. 'Tis especially galling when one considers that much of what we have achieved was by virtue of our blood and not our character. So call me Count if you must, but know that I take no pride in it. Mayhap one day, when I have earned it, I will, but not today. Still himself, is he? An honourable man, mindful of tradition, he was loath to accept the assistance of a foreigner in exile. But when forced to confront bitter truths, he looked within and found himself wanting. Pride be damned. Then, if it lead one astray, he would set aside his prejudice and join hands with this gifted outcast for the greater good of Ishgard. Right, and then we have whatever the hell this is. I had a trial by combat. That's right. Two foreign heretics against two knights of the Heavensward. Under the watchful gaze of the Fury, they would fight, and the winner's claim would be proven true. It was the opening gambit of a greater game whose stakes would remain unknown for some time. We really are gonna go through the entire story again. Well, you know what? At least you guys are aware of it now, I guess. If anything. Bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum. Ba-da-dum. Or maybe it's only like the more major story bits. Perhaps. You are Mrs. Adair, if I am not mistaken. We have met, though I am sure you do not remember. It was a seeming lifetime ago, when you answered the Archbishop's summons. I often come here to reflect upon all that has come to pass. And when I saw you gazing at the Holy Vault, I thought perhaps you had too. You turned our world upside down, everything we held dear, for change, for the truth. They say it had to be done, that His grace taught godhood. If so, then perhaps it was the Fury's will that you prevailed. But to say it, to believe it. I know that no man is without sin, but he was pious and humble, wholly devoted to the church and to his people. I knew him, miss, and he was a good man. Whatever else he may have been, I will remember him as a good man. To walk the righteous path, to live for the sake of others, to rise to the highest station, yet remain powerless to bring an end to your people's suffering. What price salvation, then? What sacrifice beyond reason? For uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. I hope I read that correctly. I don't think I did. I need to go all the way back to Lim's Element. I mean, yeah, I kind of remember this being a thing. This is when we save Raban, I think. Ah yes, going from a place that is nothing to... maybe not nothing, but like from a place that's kind of devoid of people to Limsa. The opposite of that. Oh, whoops. Captain Adair, this is most unexpected. Do you have business with the Admiral? A journey of remembrance, you say? Well, far be it from me to deny you. Unannounced or not, I suspect the Admiral would be most displeased if she heard that I had turned you away. Thank the Navigator. I had resigned myself to another day spent listening to my advisor prattle on about the Beastman's latest movements. Come, Captain, tell me of your adventures. The Asgardians sail in uncharted waters, though I hope these new reforms of theirs meet with no resistance. 'Twould not be the first grand voyage to run afoul of reefs ere it properly began. But with Sir Emmerich at the helm, they may yet chart a course for generations to follow. Which is not to say our own doesn't need correcting. The Alliance has grown complacent. The bloody nose you gave us at the melee showed me that. Nor have I forgotten the lessons of the banquet. Rest assured we will root out any further turncoats before the daggers at our backs. You have my word of that, and Lady Yugiri's besides. She had never been one to retreat, much less in the face of transparent theatrics. But this had been no ordinary battlefield. Its rules of engagement, anything but clear. So she would watch, and she would learn, and in time she would act. I do seem to remember where this will lead me, though. Like, where the end of this entire... Because I think it is going to be like a quest line. And it's going to lead me to something, which I do remember. Man, whenever I think that I'm going to do main story, it's just something else. Each and every time. Mrs. Linnaeus, Artemis. I'm both flattered and surprised that you should remember my small role in this tale, given the grandeur of your subsequent endeavours. I must confess to having derived some selfish pleasure from donning the garments of the shinobi once more. I'm honoured to have been able to assist in freeing General Raban from his captivity. And I believe I speak for all my countrymen when I say that we are most grateful to have been granted the opportunity to contribute to the restoration of the Scions. Much has changed, it is true, and much may never be as it once was, but in watching you and yours rise rise from the ashes and rebuild. I am reminded that we must never give in to despair, for there is always something which may yet be saved. Yep. Will you be traveling to Ul'dah next? If so, I would ask a favor of you. I have prepared a special agent to aid in General Aban's rehabilitation. Injuries such as his must be tended to daily, even long after they have healed. You need only deliver it to this man, Commander Swift. You will see that the Flame General receives it. Oh boy, this is gonna be so long. Like how I've been doing, but like nothing, like I've just been complaining last couple of episodes. I guess complaining is a big word. It's more that I'm just like, it's... I'm not sure what to think about like this, like types of quests like these. Greetings, son. What is it that you have there? I guess like a reminder for anybody who like hadn't done the story in a while, I suppose. Containing a variety of ground herbs and natural oils, the recipe for this traditional medicine has been passed down for generations. Ancient, I was not aware the general required such stuff, and one of our dominant friends made this for him, did she? Very well, I shall be sure to pass it on. Actually, wait here. We have just this moment concluded our meeting, and I expect he would be glad to speak with you before returning to the palace. By the way, there's a primal being summoned. We're supposed to be fast. It's not important anymore. So Commander Swift tells me that you came all this way to deliver Ungent. Daily, she says. Well, mayhap it is best to be prudent. The gods alone know why you agreed to deliver it for her, though. Unless you mean to favor me with that rematch I requested. I like how he laughs and immediately goes into his stern face. I just, lass. You are on a journey of reflection, are you not? No, I'm well upset as much. I want to relive the moment you pulled me from the pit Ilbert left me into rot. It shames me to think of it, and I was so blind to his hatred. Lorito tells me that it was not always so, that Ilbert admitted to him he once believed that I would return to Alamigo at the head of an army. But years passed and I did nothing. For all my accomplishments, for all my wealth, power and influence, I did naught to better the plight of my people. Not for lack of trying, but Ilbert didn't know. He thought the bull of Alamigo had grown fat and complacent. That my story set a bad example for our countrymen. Forget your homeland and chase the Ul'dah dream. A fine, impossible dream which gave men the strength to endure their hardships and try to make new lives for themselves here. So the dream had to die. He would kill me, stir up the disillusioned, arm them at the monetarist expense, and then... Forgive me. The Scions paid the price of my failings. The gods know I have no shortage of debts to repay, of vows to keep and duties to discharge. But mark me well, lass, there will be a reckoning. Mayhap not today, mayhap not tomorrow, but a reckoning there will be. A refugee of a fallen nation, he had risen from the depths of poverty to claim a seat on the syndicate. Yet for all his great deeds, one was left undone. And like sand through an hourglass, the years slipped away, taking with them an old friend's hope. Alright. Are you fucking kidding me? I'll be right back. Alright. Here we are. But the fury is that you, Mrs. Lynn, forgive me, but what reason could you possibly have for returning to this godforsaken place? Mayhap it is fate that which brings you here on this day of introspection and reflection. You are come to Gorgine, I hate that word, Mills, to accept the surrender of a half-dozen heretics who once fought for the Lady Iceheart. If you are intending to visit the cellars, I would ask that you do nothing to unsettle them. Wait, I know you. You were at the amphitheater with the Dragon Slayer. I suppose we owe you an apology. When it came to us seeking to parley, we were sure it was a scheme to lure out Our Lady. We were sure about a lot of things. When she first shared her revelation, when she told us that she was not Saint Shiva reborn, we assumed it was a test. For had we not prayed for salvation, had she not descended to deliver us from evil? She replied that our prayers were but fuel for a fever dream, a construct born of desperation and denial. She was no savior, she said. But when we marched upon Ishgard regardless, she pulled us from the brink of oblivion, and implored us to find another way. And here we are, ready to lay down our arms at last. It's time. She considered you a friend. Had things had been different, mayhap we could have been friends too. Farewell. Forsaken by gods and men, they found salvation in a revelation. They would take up arms against their own kind to set ancient wrongs to right. Cut out Ishgard's festering heart, and the war would be over. This they knew, believed with all their being, until their savior told them their efforts would be for naught. Really? Meant a lot? I guess I'll meet you guys there too. Incoming! Well, if it isn't a great warrior of light herself, she who slew the dreadworm Nidhogg, bringing an end to 1,000 years of war, and my very livelihood! Well, go on then, strike me down and finish the job. Stab me right in the heart. I'll even lend you my spear if you like. After all, I won't be bloody needing it. Tell me true for a moment, I had you fooled. You gods, as if I could hate the woman who rid us of Nidhogg. Ah, unless you worry, that business about me losing my livelihood couldn't have been further from the truth. In point of fact, peace is proving surprisingly lucrative. As our nation's ties with the Retrospection brood have grown stronger and our interest in Dravania begun to expand, we have seen a marked increase in the number of travelers on the road. Needless to say, such travelers require protection, which we are only too happy to provide. Granted, such work will not earn your lordship like slaying a dragon might, but it pays well and is far less prone to an incineration, which seems a reasonable enough compromise, considering all things considered. As long as there are wars to fight, there will be those who take up arms not out of hatred or a sense of duty, but for a want of better employment. When presented with an alternative, such individuals may gladly trade their swords for scythes, or, failing that, pledge them to a more worthy cause. Marche Cherchon. Something the matter, lass? Not giving you trouble? A journey of remembrance, eh? Gods, feels like only yesterday that Uzale turned up in Tailfeather with you in tow. Bank to our lives and gone all too soon. Did I tell you how we found her 5 years back? In a torpor out in the forest, all by her lonesome? Aye, well, we weren't about to leave her there, so we carried her back here and tended to her till she woke up. Didn't say a word for days, Uzale. Just sat there and stared up at the sky, as if the ground held nothing for her, and it didn't. You learned when she finally spoke. Now, you might think she's not one to smile, but if you'd seen her in those years that followed... Then, one day, all of a sudden, she says she's got a truth that must be shared. I've been least for the gods knows where, but that was the last we heard of her. For a time. Redemption's not beyond us, friends. Come and hear the truth. Come and hear the Lady Isart speak. And they did, from far and wide, or so the story went. Some said there was nothing in it, but I knew. I think, Lynn, that deep down, most folk want to do right by themselves and others. And they try. Oh, they try. You do, sir? Wait, what? And why is the English language not making sense to me anymore? You do, certainly, and so did she. Apologies, we came here to think on your own memories, not listening to mine. I take it to Nassau next? Right then, if we're to do this properly, you'll need to gather up your incentives, same as before. In case you've forgotten, that's a basket of fresh kale and tree fruit, a good-sized jar of landtrap nectar, and a dirty great cartload of young Nanka flesh. Come on, lass. Surely you can't be that bloody daft. You're more than welcome in their village already. Safe travels. Hunter of dragons and gods, I bid you welcome. What do they ask of me this day? Once, you would have had no conception of what you speak. The one mind does not forget, but we do. It can be most distressing. To remember is not enough. One must strain and give words to memory, and inscribe words upon parchment. This is the chronicler's call. He wrote of how you came to loss at that, and how you left to slay Ravana, and how the young hunter trained with the old hunter while you were away. We shall treasure these memories, this history you have given us, and when new Vav join us, we shall share it with them as well. Bound no longer to the will of the many, they were now free to walk their own path. Thus reborn, they would write the first chapter of a new history to be passed on to future generations. And as their culture grew older and richer, so too would their story. Vidafnir, blah. You know, after I'm done with this expansion, it really is going to be a thing of like, I'm never going back to Heavensward again. I mean, I like Heavensward, once again. Keep on emphasizing that, but man. Friend of Izael, warrior of warriors, thou art ever welcome in Enix Shrine. What bringeth thee to us this day? There's much wisdom to be gained from looking to the past, to walk half-remembered paths, and mark anew their twists and turns. We too do this, though not through pilgrimage, no less the written word beloved of thy historians. In song do we preserve the deeds of our lost and chronicle the passing of the ages. Naught hath greater power to stir our hearts. 'Twas a dirge of profoundest sadness that roused Nidhogg's brood to action, a dirge which soundeth no more. Now a new song riseth to fill the void, one of hope rekindled, of war's end, and peace's rebirth. I shall sing of thee in Izael ever after, that all may know and remember. In the chorus, the fallen could rise once more, for none are dead whose names yet echo in the heavens, and the song would not end until the last voice fell silent. Heroes and villains, sinners and saints, all would live again. I feel like this would have actually been like a better thing to do in combination with the Nidhogg Extreme video. But I didn't really... I wasn't even sure if that quest was already there before I continued with the MSQ. I don't know. If I knew I would have done it, but yeah, I don't. Well, yank my palm and call me a Molbat. I certainly wasn't expecting to see you again today. Still calling yourself Lynn? Not that there's anything wrong with that. Anyway, what are you doing here? Thank heavens for that. I was sure you were going to ask for help with yet another one of your exciting quests, but by all means, we'd love to pass the time reminiscing about the good old days. And when better than now, Kupo? What with your friends visiting and all? Wait here and I'll fetch them. Full glad am I to see you again, Lynn, and in Markham of all places. Kupo, it really is you, and just when we were about to leave. I think it wonderful, this pilgrimage of yours, a final reflection upon the past, that you might face the future with eyes unclouded and a heart at peace. Few would deny that the events of recent days warrant such contemplation. When last we stood in this place, I dare say none among our number would have believed what was to follow. Young Estinian least of all, upon learning what befell him at Isis La, I confess I thought him lost. But when Master Alfino told me of your great struggle, and of his salvation, I was reminded of your talent for the impossible. If you ask me, he seemed altogether too stubborn to die. Though, I suppose, it is no small feat to evict a spite-filled worm once it has made its home in one's head. With Nidhogg's passing, the children of Ishgard and Dravania may at last look to the future. It is my hope, however, that they will not forget the deeds of history, nor the many thousands of lives lost in their conflict. For only through remembrance will they avoid the mistakes of the past. We thank you again for your hospitality, Chieftain Mogolin, and pray that you will one day allow us to extend you the same courtesy. I wish you well on your journey, Lynn. May you ever walk in the light of the crystal. Until we meet again, Koopa. Even in the farthest reaches of distant, dangerous lands, one may chance upon a friendly face. Though given to mischief and largely unconcerned by the troubles of the outside world, they came to understand Ishkart's plight and agreed to lend their aid. Eventually, that is. I have to go to the camp place. I think this wouldn't be a bad quest to do if you like... I'm not sure when this released, this quest, but if you're like much, like if it's been like multiples of months since you did the original Heavensward, with like waiting for patches and all that jazz, this would definitely be something very, very nice to do. The crackling warmth of Alfino's campfire, the savoury waft of his ale's bubbling stew, the soft snoring of Morgan, asleep on the grass. A cold wind blew that night as well, and on the morrow they mounted the steps and blew the horn. But having climbed to the summit with hope in their hearts, they descended dejected, weighed down by truths too grim to contemplate. These cutscenes are really nice though. And the words too. Very nice writing. Yoder, over here, quickly. Did not know who's speaking. Ah. Should have known you would see through my disguise. But enough talk. We cannot linger here, lest the guards recognize their Sultana. Their Sultana. Oh, this is... I do really like that, though. That she has like a little disguise to run around. As you may have deduced, I was taking the air outside the palace when I saw you standing there, staring off into space. Have you something on your mind? I understand completely. So much has happened, so much has changed. And all in so short a space of time. Even now I struggle to make sense of it all. But one thing at least is abundantly clear. I owe you an immense debt of gratitude for all you have done on my behalf, and on behalf of those whom I hold dear. After I awoke, Papashan told me everything. It was a lot to take in, but nothing could prepare me for what Lord Lorito had to say. That ruthless, manipulative swine came before me and expressed regret for what had come to pass, and thinking to make amends, offered all of the other Legi's assets, as well as half of his own personal fortune, to the crown. And I accepted. Long did I debate how best to use this wealth. There's no end to the troubles facing our nation, and no shortage of worthwhile causes, yet none among our people have suffered more than the refugees, and it is they who shall be first to receive aid and succor. There is also the matter of the terrible wrongs committed against you and yours, for which I am in large part responsible. Nay, do not protest. It is the truth. Accordingly, I have set aside monies to aid in the Scion's rebuilding, if you would have them. That would be most welcome. Pray do not thank me. Not after all you have suffered. You know that I did not think to atone for my mistakes with money. It is but a tool which I would see put to good use. Ah, listen to me. So much for enjoying a moment's respite outside the palace walls. It rather seems as if I've brought my responsibilities with me. I suppose I should return. Lady Lilira, you must come home at once. Father is worried sick, you know? Ah, confound it. You'll not search this area. I know she came through here. On the other hand, it is essential that a ruler sees firsthand how her subjects go about their daily lives, and I have not visited the markets in weeks. It would seem a shame to let this opportunity go to waste. Then might I impose on you to have a brief yet cordial conversation with the Sultan's sworn? I leave the choice of subject matter up to you. Take care. Pork, pork, pork. I'm a dog and I'm barking. Ah, I beg your pardon, miss, but did you perchance see a young Lalafell noblewoman pass this way? No. Are you certain? Oh dear, oh dear. Master Papashan said this might happen, but I never truly believed it was serious. Oh wait, I know you. You're Lynn. Lynn Ladair. What a stroke of luck. I can think of none better qualified to help us. You see, it is no mere noblewoman that we seek. Ah, but Master Papashan was most explicit about the need for secrecy. Pray forget I mentioned it. We will find the lady on our own. What cruel fate to lose her father as a child and be compelled to rule in his stead. And how the years had tempered her dreams and taught her, sometimes brutally, the price of naivety. Though outwardly unscathed by her ordeal, it was a wiser and more wary Nanamo who reclaimed the throne. Ram, ba-da-bum, bum, ba-da-bum. Mordona in Mordona. Wow. There you are, Lynn. Higiri told me of your pilgrimage. I knew it was only a matter of time before you sought me out. I too have been reflecting on the choices which shaped my path. When I took to the road with my grandfather, when I joined the Crystal Braves, when I tried and failed to warn you before the banquet. I had my suspicions about Wildred's death, that it was the work of a guardian spy within our ranks, but I could not be sure who was involved. Hence my desire to speak with you in private. I thought long and hard about how to approach you without arousing suspicion. Perhaps too long. Eventually I decided to arrange a meeting through Mrs. Momori. Little did I know that bastard Laurentius had seen me do it. Shortly thereafter, the Fourth received urgent summons. Needless to say, I had no choice but to answer, and soon found myself at the mercy of Captain Ilbert's band of traitors. They confined me to the Rising Stones, along with others still loyal to the Scions. Rial, FME, Ergmus. Quite what they planned to do with us, I couldn't say. Maybe they thought we would turn, given time. Fools. Lieutenant Yuhase bid the Third keep us under constant guard, but when Captain Ilbert moved to carry out General Oban's execution, they were forced to withdraw, all but a token force. Which we took by surprise one night, and then it was over. One might argue that it turned out better than it had any right to, all things considered. Still, there are nights when I lie awake wondering if I had done things differently, if I had been more careful or more decisive, what then? But there's not to be gained from thinking thus. We must count our blessings, must we not? We are still here, and most of what has broken can be rebuilt. You will see, Lynn. You will see. For the freedom of all, it had begun with an oath and ended with a betrayal. As the conspirators turned on their comrades for coin and country, the good and true were beaten and imprisoned, or else butchered where they stood. But even in their darkest moments, they had never stopped believing that the dawn's light would shine again. Why, hello there, Lynn. Fancy meeting you here. I keep forgetting who which and... I know Biggs is the big guy, right? There you go. Reminiscing about the glory days, eh? Aye, we spent many sleepless nights hammering away in that corner of ours. How's your mana cutter holding up, by the way? Huh, that's good to hear. Not that I had any doubts, our craftsmanship's second to none. Quite right, it will take more than swirling winds and raging dragons to bring her down, and that, my friend, is an Ironworks guarantee. Speaking of which, on the back of the field test success, we've gone ahead and licensed the design for mass production. Soon the Skysteel manufactory will be churning out mana cutters by the dozen. Which is why we're here today, as a matter of fact, to make sure their machines don't bug anything up. Apparently adventurers have been queuing up to place an order, and even some sky pirates. Just imagining the sea of clouds teeming with our creations fills me with a father's pride. Right then, that's enough patting ourselves on the back. We've got to make sure the cutters are up to snuff, or Jess will never let us hear the end of it. From now till we finish, there will be no more breaks, no distractions, and not one wink of sleep. Do you hear me? Nice. Card chocobo. Well, we'll leave you to it then. Till next time, eh? Wow, that wave was adorable! I think that's one of the first times I've actually taken a look at that. Despite many hardships they had endured, or perhaps because of them, they greeted every new challenge with a smile. Their workshop, their battlefield, their tools to their weapons, or their tools, their weapons. They invariably rose to the occasion, delivering ingenious solutions to seemingly insoluble problems. These words. Who wrote these? Who's responsible for this? Oh yeah, that's right, we needed the mana cutter and then we could go to... I was wondering, like, why aren't we going to the area? Makes sense, because we needed the mana cutter for that. I was wondering when the mana cutter was introduced, because I totally forgot. Who would have expected that we would be reminiscing the entirety of Heavensward again? Well, again would be a big word. For me, it's again. It's funny because, like, I did the story myself, like, originally. Then I did the story again. Then I did the story... So then I watched the story again. And now we're having a recap of the story. I watched some other people going through the story. So that's what makes it kind of funny. The amount of times that I am experiencing the award-winning expansion of Heavensward. Through tempestuous winds, they carved a path, breaching the Dreadworm's sanctum, and there did they put him to the sword. Yet in the wake of hard-fought victory were secrets laid bare in a vision dark and disturbing. A legacy of the fathers, bequeathed to their sons and passed down to the generations. Old blood enduring in the new, the mark of original sin. The amount of money I'm spending with teleporting, it's kind of ridiculous too, I think. Right. Also, like, the rendition of this song, like, at the final cutscene of Heavensward, I would say, that was beautiful. With, like, when... What is his name again? Why can't I remember his name? Well, in any case, like, the Count of Four Toms. Of House Four Toms. What is his name again? Shit. Anyway, when he was, like, finishing his book about Heavensward, that song rendition, oh my god, made me feel so many things. And there she is at last. Gibrion said you were wandering all over, reminiscing about days gone by. Seems a bit soon, if you ask me. Yes. It's not like I don't understand, though. Some days I'll be walking through the broom, same as normal, and it'll hit me all of a sudden just how much has changed for us. Though, I know it's a bit different from what you've been through. Puts me in mind of the first time I saw her and her friends up near the Euthrite, being shown around by that House for Thomas man. Oh, you never told me you've met before. It weren't so much a maiden as a heckling, to be honest. When I heard their guide warning them off paying a visit to the broom, it stuck in my craw, and you've got to admit that Master Alfino's the spitting image of a snotty little lordling. Little lordling that went on to fight 2 knights of the Heavensward with Lyn here in trial by combat. Not to mention helping retake the fault from the True Brothers. Fury of mercy, it feels like a bleeding lifetime ago, don't it? Because it was. What we've got now is nothing like what came before. It's a bleeding rebirth is what it is. Cold comfort to the folk who died getting us here. Still, this piece is ours, and we owe it to ourselves to make the most of it. Meaning we've got to work twice as hard to make the broom a better place, and no more rats and blue bloods neither. Aye aye. A world apart from the opulence of the pillars, they had toiled, shrouded in the haze of the broom. Sentenced to a life of hardship by birth, they dreamed of revolution, as children dream of fairies. Then one came and went, and they suddenly found themselves with a seat at the table. Okay, we're just gonna ignore the vault. I guess this was kind of the thing of like the vault. Interesting. I guess we did already stop by the vault at an earlier point. Right, of course we had an audience with Thordan then. I forgot. Oh, clouds part and let shine brilliant sun upon Lonuvanu. Great Netherling warrior returns to Oxundo and on pilgrimage of remembrance. Well, well. We bid you a warmest welcome, slayer of false god and champion of fallen Gundu, whose fledgling village continues to grow and prosper, now free from the shadows of Vundu oppression. But Lonuvanu is not one to forget Netherling's first coming, when she saves us from certain death at the hands of the Black Ones. Distant memory though it is. Yes, her many deeds are the stuff of legends. We shall remember the stories and the hero's name, Linda, for they are worthy of celebration now and ever after. An earnest, good-natured people, they had borne witness to the rage of their beloved god's twisted manifestation, and proclaimed it to be false. By the grace of kind travellers were they duly delivered from its wrath, the mad god's death signaling the birth of a new hero. And then, oh yeah, Ymitra. To go all the way over there. That is the dumbest freaking, like... The placement of Ymitra is infuriating. Such a good character. But man, is she in an annoying spot. Oh well. I'm not going to be able to finish this in this episode, which is unfortunate. Because I kind of wanted to contain something like this in one episode, but that's not happening. Well, Madeline, what brings you here this night? Indeed, though it seems an age, it was not all that long ago that we rescued Stola from the livestream. How quickly we begin to forget even those memories most precious to us. In my defense, I might add that I have rarely missed an opportunity to make new memories with my sister in the days since her return. Our conversations are largely on matters of scientific and professional concern, ancient allegoric technologies, primals, Ascians, and so forth. She has an insatiable thirst for knowledge, as you know. Yet while I understand her desire not to burden those around her with her troubles, and to carry on as she did before, I do worry that her willingness to manipulate her own ether to compensate for the loss of her sight may have dire repercussions. She never told you then? But of course not. It would rather have defeated the purpose. You should know that the technique she employs places a tremendous strain on her body. She is, of course, well aware of her limits, and more than willing to ignore them should she deem it necessary. I pray you see that she does not. Regrettably, she is wont to ignore my advice when it does not suit her, yet given your shared experiences, perhaps she will be more willing to heed your warnings. Her sister was under no illusion as to the dangers of the life she had chosen. Should the worst come to the worst, Y'shtola would do what needed to be done, pay any price, make any sacrifice, and that without hesitation. She was a woman of conviction, deserving of respect and admiration, and no small amount of worry. Slow fix. You know what, my friends? I'm gonna do this in this episode, because I do not want this to filter into another MSQ episode. Why must governing great Gobby nation be so difficult? Like herding curls. Stupid curls with muchly differing views on glorious nation's future direction. Yes, yes. Slowfix... yes, yes. Slowfix knows he is letting emotions run wild. Uplander is welcome, voice of reasons. Not like when Uplanders first returned to Idleshire, yes? So much venom in that one's tongue flaps. Calling Gobbyflock thieves. But Slowfix saw a way to mutual understanding. Citizenship in society, first step in strengthening communal ties. Gives all a vested interest in continuing prosperity of egalitarian. What is this word? Egalitarian utopia. Yes, Gobby man. For the final objective of this quest, you will receive no guidance from the journal or the duty list. You will need to read the text carefully and decipher the clues to determine your next course of action. And now, Slowfix bids Uplander fulfill civic duty as citizen of Aylshire with hand-lending of great import. In cave south of settlement lives Altcron, wielder of powerful magics used to crafty make frogmen that chase away curious gobbies. Uplander has many busy deals with Old Crone, yes? Then Uplander can appeal to Crone's better nature and make her call of frogmen harriers. Okay, I will meet you guys, well, at Matoya, because, you know, there's no way to ride anywhere near there. Alright. At least I get to listen to this beautiful music from Final Fantasy 1. Well, this is a pleasant surprise. I'm well aware that you're only here because you want something, but at least you didn't bring your little friends, so out with it. Oh, is that what the Gobbies told you? And my servants were attacking their poor defenseless scouts without the slightest provocation? Ha! The little buggers were trying to eat them. They're lucky I didn't have my Parogos return a favor, but you can tell them from me that if they try it again, I will personally feed them to my servants, one limb at a time. I do hope you didn't come all this way just to play errand girl for those dirty little scroungers. Aren't you a bit young to be going on grand journeys of reflection? You haven't lived long enough to have so many regrets. The same goes for that boy, complaining that things hadn't unfolded as he dreamed they would. Makes no difference what should have happened to Menphilia. What matters is what did happen. The past is the past, and no amount of wishing you'd done things differently will make it so. You make your choices, and you do what must needs be done. That's it. That's the attitude you came here with the first time when you wanted to find a way to get to Azizla, and you would do well to remember it. Right then, I think you've wasted quite enough of my time. It's bad enough that I have to suffer strollers and unannounced visits. I don't need you making a habit of it too. She was the sum of everything that had come before. Triumphs, failures, all essential, all indispensable. Had things unfolded differently, so too would she. What use then, to mourn the woman who never was? There was only this time, this place, this choice. Let's to Azizla. Azizlar. As the Emperor proclaimeth. You spy something on the ground at the landing site. Or the landing stage. Nani? Oh my god. You fucking man. A bouquet of fresh Nemea lilies. I know what they mean too! Lies at your feet, an offering for the departed. 1,000 fires blossomed around her as she fell towards the battleship, a crimson star shower amidst the impassive clouds. And then came the azure light, faint at first, soon blinding, then shattering, casting motes of diamonds to the 4 winds. I cannot believe that I miss stuff like this. Well, I kind of can. I'm not too surprised. That's so good! Estinian was walking away with a bouquet at the end of that cutscene and he dropped it over here. For his ale. Yes. Yes, my friends. This isn't too far away, right? Nah. Visit Tiamat, though. That's an interesting thing. I mean, it makes sense that we would go back to Tiamat, being a pretty important encounter. Or definitely a worthy encounter. Child of man, chosen of Hydaelyn, naught remaineth for thee here, save the delusions of the condemned. In my madness did I spy my departed brood-brother in yonder skies, though I know it cannot be so. What sayest thou? My senses are yet mine own? Then, he whom I saw was but my dead brother's rancor clad in mortal flesh. And thou didst deliver him unto death's cold embrace. I bear thee no ill will, child, 'tis beyond me. All my hatreds are bound up in moments ephemeral and eternal. My beloved's passing and his resurrection. I am no better than Nidhogg, consumed by love, twisted by rage. I too sought vengeance without end. Yet thou hast since renounced it, hast thou not? Through millennia have I watched as time did that which I could not, as the men of Alak perished, and their works fell to ruin, leaving me to think on mine own sins in solitude. What folly to despise man his base desire, when hatred's hand is so effortlessly drove me to take Asian reed. Then look thou on him again with eyes unclouded, and mark how he laboureth to rise above his nature, how he and Racefelger's brood now raise their voices in a shared song of peace. 'Tis my dearest hope that it shall prove the founding stone for a bulwark against the dark. As time delivered Alak unto its reward, so too would it prove this peace true or fleeting, as I remain here apart and watch. Chosen of Hydaelyn, it is well that thou camest unto me in contemplation, but the road stretcheth ever on, and thy battle is not yet won. Perhaps there was hope for them. Perhaps this time they would learn and remember. But her part in the tale had ended long ago, within this monument to hubris, which will remain until the end of days, beyond redemption. Meanwhile, dude in the background going bonkers on the piano. It is still very intriguing to me, like one of the things that you notice a lot on this place, like there's specific like islands or just areas which you just do not need to go to for no reason. There's no reason why you need to go to a lot of these areas. At least none that I can think of. Like even fishing spots. There's only like a couple of fishing spots around here. And they're all like in kind of the main areas. Nothing that like needs to take me into the quarantine block, for instance, or the hyperstellar down converter. You know? Stuff like that. Right. The undying ones were defiant, disbelieving, even as death embraced them. Then the knights too succumbed, loyal to the last to a cause long lost. His body growing light, the archbishop looked upon the arbiter of his fate, and knew not what he saw. And then it was over. Naught remained save the eyes, thinking to bear them away from the covetous hands of man. Justinian took the accursed baubles in his own, and was duly bent to their will, if only for a time. At a friend's behest had they embarked upon their journey, and so, after their triumphant homecoming, and all the pomp and circumstance, there was but one way it could end. And now we need to pay respects to a friend. For which we must needs go to Camp Dragonhead. Isn't it convenient that my main quest is also over here? Let me fly over there in my disembodied head. At least I think it's over here. There it is. That's it. As we unlock another emote. The horse front emote. So visit him still. And there we go. That is the tale of Heavensward. I was going to ignore that murder and carnage happening in the background. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of just us playing Final Fantasy XIV. Now we are truly done with, I would say, the base story of Heavensward. Now we are truly moving on from Heavensward. At least I am pretty sure. Anyway, goodbye.